I believe, and this is something that I talked with Ms. Najeli before the presentation, that without mental health, you cannot thrive in school, right? And mental health is something that needs to be addressed. If your child gets sick, like if they have a fever or if they have an infection, like you will take them to the pediatrician. If you have diabetes, you will get on a diet, go to the doctor, take insulin. Mental health needs to be addressed also. If you have depression and anxiety, it's not because you're weak. It's a response to the stressors around you, and it could be also a result of trauma. So if you're seeing some of these symptoms, I want you to invite I want to invite you to think that they could be signs of depression, of anxiety. Um, they could be symptoms of trauma also, and it needs to be addressed. And you have resources at school with the counselors that could direct you to therapy for support. With mental health in a specific, there are psychiatrists, right, that are doctors that have a specialty in mental health, and they can prescribe medications particularly for mental health. So as I said, it's important to address mental health. The other piece that I want to talk about is, and sorry, I'm going so fast, but I know that we have not too much time, is the emotion regulation piece. Right? One piece is, okay, if there are symptoms related to depression, to anxiety, to trauma, let's address that with therapy. Let's ask for a referral with the school counselors. Let's see a psychiatrist. But the other piece, and what I was referring to when I said as adults, we have ways to regulate our emotions, is that children usually don't have the skills to regulate their emotions. And it is our job as parents to help them regulate their emotions. When I became a mom, I thought that being a mom was taking care of a child, like feeding a child, making sure they have clothes on, taking them to school, like being their taxi driver, like, and taking them places, taking them to soccer practice, so and so, um, doing their birthday parties for them. But it never occurred to me until I started studying more into counseling and positive discipline that a very important part of your job of being a parent is being an emotional coach for your child. And if there is one slide that I want you to have in your mind and to remember from this presentation is this one, and in a specific, this line in green, you are an emotional coach for your child. You are a teacher of emotions, and your presence can calm your child. There is science behind this and research. Your brain can calm your child brain, and your brain also can alter and affect your child brain. If you yell, they yell. If you are angry and scared, they get angry and scared. We have mirror neurons, and our brain influences our child brain. So in the brain, we have the cortex, right? That is the part that engages in rational thinking, is the part that engages in school, in math, in writing, is the cortex. And then below the cortex, we have the midbrain, and that is where we have our emotions, right? And then um, under we have the stem, and this is our reptile brain, the one that activates when we are in a situation where we have to survive. So a child that is anxious, that is worried, that is scared, is going to be like this or like this, right? And when you are here in your limbic and when you are in your reptile brain, you don't have access to the functions of the brain that can help you in school. So when your child's brain is like this, because they are anxious about school, about COVID, about like the responsibilities they have with online learning, it is your job to do this. It is your job to help your child do this so that they reconnect the cortex and they can engage in school. And how do you do that? Your presence calm your child. A hug, your words, your words, a hug, the way you approach your child can calm your child or can tell them you're in trouble, right? You can be the best student, you can be an A+ student, but if you don't know how to handle your emotions and how to regulate, you're going to struggle in life. Think about maybe a test that they have, and if they have too much anxiety about it, like they could have know everything about the test, but they will fail the test if they are super anxious, if they don't have ways to cope with their anxiety. Think about like when they have a boyfriend or girlfriend and a breakup, like it's going to be harder on them if they don't know how to regulate their emotions. Think about when like later in life when they have a job and they are dealing with a situation that is frustrating. Think about like all those situations that as adults like they're going to have to face. You want them to have emotion regulation skills, so you are a co-regulator of emotions. An example I like to give of maybe how to do this, like let's pretend you are doing dinner, right? And you notice that your child is not engaging well in school and is irritable, right? So I want you to, while you're doing dinner, just pause, notice how you're feeling, and share with your child and with your teen what you're going through. So an example that comes to mind is, you know, today I was in this training online and Zoom was not working, and I had so much to do, and I kept seeing like emails and emails like popping like in my screen, and I started feeling overwhelmed and concerned that maybe I will not have enough time to do all that I have to do, and my stomach started hurting. I think I'm anxious. I think, and this is anxiety. What my stomach is telling me is like, I'm anxious. You have to set boundaries. You have to take it easy. You have to do the best you can. um, so what you're saying is like sharing your process, sharing what you're going through, giving a name to that emotion. Like even in this example, like mentioning a somatic symptom related to that emotion, and then I'm giving examples how I'm going to deal with emotion, right? Like I need to set my boundaries. I need to remind myself that I'm doing the best that I can. Um, Validate, mirror their emotions, right? Like if they're going through a hard day, through a hard time, like validate, like in mind you're a mirror, and that you are telling them what you are observing, but put names to those emotions. I see you worried, I see you stressed, I see you overwhelmed. Validate their emotions are valid, right? And remind them that they are not going to feel like this forever, because at that moment sometimes for them it's like they feel it's the end of the world. It's like, for example, their first breakup, right? Like they feel it's the end of the world, and as adult, like it's going to pass. It feels like the end of the world, and I understand it feels like the end of the world, but it's going to pass, right? Maybe if they fail in a test, like on a testing or with a homework, like it might feel like the end of the world, and that you can validate that and that you can honor their experience. It makes them real to them, but that it will pass. Do we need to turn off a microphone? We're good. Okay. Um, and here's just some practical things that I feel you could do. Um, I believe that predictability brings down anxiety, and predictability comes with routines. So I want you to think about that you get a new job, right? And in this new job, they just tell you, arrive at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and that's it. But they don't give you a contract. They don't tell you at what time you end working. They don't tell you at what time you have lunchtime. They don't tell you how you should arrive dressed. They don't tell you your job description, the benefits. They don't tell you the consequences for missing work or for not doing your work well, because you don't know what actually your work looks like and what does well means. Imagine that situation. It will be super anxiety provoking. So when we have predictability in their life, like that helps teens and minors in general. It helps everyone, right? But especially for them, and right now in distance learning, that they can know exactly what is expected of them for the week or for the day. And I know teachers are really good about that, about like, sending like what needs to be done, like what homework needs to be done. Take the time, sit with them and say, okay, like we're gonna print this and we're gonna put it on a planner, or we're going to make a list. You have these skills, right? You are an adult. You probably need to make a budget for your family. Many of you maybe hold jobs outside the house. Like, you have these skills. Why not show them? How do you make a routine? How do you use a planner? How do you use an agenda? How do you plan your day? Tell them, help them to see how their day is going to look like, and have clear goals, attainable expectations, right? Maybe put, if they have to do certain amount of homework for the week, then maybe you can put it in blocks of time during several days, so that they don't have to be 3 hours working in something, because that's not going to help. And maybe plan their days with blocks of time, where there's maybe like a morning time, a lunchtime, a recreational time, a homework time, a recreational time, a family time. And maybe there can be tasks that can only be done in the morning. And there are some things that can only be done in recreational time. And they can maybe actually choose and say, I'm going to do my homework after lunch instead of before lunch. Or, my recreational time, I want it to be before lunch. That is, I don't know, walking the dog, going around the block for a walk. um, have blocks of time and tasks that are related to those blocks of time. And that way also, you are not the one setting the agenda and saying the plan for the day. They can accommodate their task and their blocks of time. Have off screen time, have recreational time and outdoors time. And this is particularly helpful for depression. With exercise, you have endorphins, and this hormone that makes you feel better, that helps with pain. So it's actually something that therapists and psychiatrists recommend with people with depression. Walking outside, walking the dog, going and jog, like do something physical, right? And checking with them. I cannot stress you how important is this. This is also something else that I want you to take in mind. 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, like checking with them. I know for my children it's usually bedtime, that their mind is kind of going through the motions, and they have concerns about like an assessment they have the next day, or about what's going to happen. And that check-in time, it's so helpful, because it can help them like bring those anxieties down. It can help them process their day. As I said, your presence can calm your child. Like, I like to think about parents as these benzodiazepine that are like these medications for anxiety when people have an anxiety attack. And that actually, the presence of your parent can help you calm when your parent is calm, right? When we are not calm, is the contrary.